What's up, YouTube? This is Avandes bringing you a Diablo 4 Barbarian THORNS build guide. Let's get into it. With this build, you're going to be melting monsters, and the ones that don't melt are going to run off crying. Alright, so let's get into the build. So, really, most of this gear is going to be optional. What you can see here is I have thorns at about 1100 after that consumable. Those consumables are really handy. It adds 50 thorns just by consuming for 30 minutes. You'll probably want to stack up on them. They're extremely cheap. This piece right here makes the build, right? 64% chance to proc on hit to all enemies around you. That's huge. Another great one to add is this one that adds reduction to all your shouts, which is going to boost your thorns, also huge. This is really just optional, an optional ring. This amulet I found is also optional, but it does have 81 thorns on it, which is great. Moving over to your helmet, the stat you want is maximum life. So if you could get maximum life is great with an open socket. Everything else would be optional. Moving on to your chest piece, again, anything here, optional. Just make sure it has thorns and 2 open sockets. So for hands, you can't get thorns on hands, but you can get some damage reduction or damage over time. This one has berserking for the legendary, adds thorns. Great, you're going to be berserking a lot. So for your legs, just find something with 2 open sockets. Legs do drop with thorns on them, so try to find the highest thorns you can on your legs. Coming over to boots. Boots don't matter. They don't have thorns on them. They don't have life or anything. Weapons don't really matter. Your attack doesn't really matter. You're going to be worried about reflecting damage. That legendary is great. It has bleeding on it. You're going to be doing bleeding over time because of tough as nails, and you'll see here shortly in the skill tree. So most of the skill tree isn't even going to matter. The only thing that really is going to matter is flay. You want 1 point into that, skilled up to combat flay, and that's going to stack your thorns upon hitting mobs up to 4 times, which is going to boost your thorns, which is going to boost your damage. Here, the next tree, I opted into skipping combat skills and just going with passives. So you could choose whatever passive or combat skill here. It really doesn't matter. I am using Rend in this build, but that's from item contributions. So, but really it doesn't matter. What is going to matter is your defensive tree. And the main things here are going to be your passives and one shout in particular. So you want Imposing Presence. That's going to add 15 additional maximum life, which again is going to boost up your thorns. You're going to want Challenging Shout, 1 point into that at least. Scaled down to Strategic Challenging Shout, which is going to boost up your maximum life, which is going to also boost up your thorns. So here, Outburst, mandatory. You want Outburst for the thorns attached to maximum life. Again, here, you're going to have Tough as Nails, also mandatory for this build. It's going to boost up your thorns, but also to proc bleeding on enemies that hit you with thorns activated. So at the next tree here, we're going to have Warcry, 1 point into that, scaled up to Mighty Warcry, and that's going to fortify your life, which is going to boost up your thorns. I have 1 point into Booming Voice, just as an extra point. The same with Leap. I just had extra points. This build doesn't require a lot at level 25. And Thick Skin, also too, again, Fortify, it's going to boost your thorns. That's going to do it for all the skill points you need for 25. So the rest of the skills I have is item contribution. And let's get into some of the gameplay for this build. As you can see here, when you're running through, doesn't even matter. You don't have to stop for anything besides the elites that are going to drop you the best gear, rares, and legendaries. With this build, you don't have to worry about incoming damage. There's a lot of damage reduction. There's a lot of maximum life, and as you can see here, I just hopped into 4 elites. They all just went down in a second. One of my favorite places to grind is Melnock. It's after you clear a stronghold, this town opens up, and there's a shop here you could sell your items in. And there's also an armor you can salvage at. But more importantly, there's a dungeon just a few steps away. So you could reset, come here, sell, salvage, run back, and continue the grind. Another key point about Barbarian is their ability to leap is actually pretty good for mobility. It's got a relatively short cooldown, and you could use it to skip some interesting terrains. Now right here, I'm going to show you the downfall of this build, and that being a lack of mobs. So you'll notice I engaged the butcher. There's not really any mobs around. He's attacking me. He's doing okay damage to himself, but it's not as great as when it's mob dense for that proc of 64% chance to do AoE damage to everything around you. So this next portion coming up, there's random events that happen in the dungeon, and if you save these NPCs, they have something very interesting to say. And I personally believe that this is how the mercenary system's going to work for recruitment of your mercenaries.
I've lost so many. It can't have been for nothing. Wanderer, please, let me join you. Let me avenge the fallen.
So that's going to wrap up this Barbarian's Thorns build guide. Thank you all for stopping by and watching. I'm a new channel, and I'm not very good at video editing, so go ahead and roast me in the comments. And stick around because I played this beta extensively, and I plan on playing at D4 religiously. So I'm definitely going to be having more guides, more secrets, tips, if you will, and content coming. Thank you all for watching. and I'll see you when the game launches.